Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. The costumes, the candy, the cold autumn air, it always felt like a celebration of the spooky and the strange. This year was different, though. Something about the night was off. You ever have that feeling? The one where everything around you feels just a little too still. Like the world is holding its breath. Yeah, that's how it started. It was late, around midnight, and most trick-or-treaters had already gone home. I was heading back to my place, walking through the same path I'd taken dozens of times before. The trees lined the streets, their branches looking like skeletal hands reaching out to the sky. The full moon bathed everything in a cold, silvery light. The air was heavy, thick with a chill that bit deep into my skin. But it wasn't the cold that bothered me, it was the feeling. The undeniable sense that something or someone was watching me. At first, I brushed it off. It was Halloween, after all. People get spooked easily on nights like this. But as I turned the corner onto the narrow, empty street leading to my apartment, I saw a shadow. Not just any shadow. This one moved, slithering along the ground like smoke. I stopped in my tracks, my heart racing, eyes locked on the shape. "Hey!" I shouted, half expecting it to be some trickster messing around. No answer, just silence, the kind that presses against your ears and drowns out everything else. I quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing in the quiet street. The shadow moved with me, staying just on the edge of my vision, darting between the streetlights, never fully showing itself. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, that my mind was playing games. But deep down, I knew, I could feel it, something wasn't right. Then, as I reached my apartment door, I saw it again. This time, clearer, the shadow wasn't alone. There were others, dozens of them. Their forms flickered in and out of existence, as though they were phasing between this world and another. They swarmed around me, moving faster, circling closer. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking. When I finally got the door open, I slammed it shut behind me, leaning against it, panting. My apartment was dark, the only light coming from the full moon shining through the window. For a moment, I thought I was safe. But then, the scratching started. It came from the door, faint at first, like someone dragging their nails across the wood. Then it grew louder, more frantic, as if whatever was out there was desperate to get in. My phone buzzed in my pocket, pulling me out of my daze. A notification, a text from an unknown number. It simply said, "They're coming for you." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. My first instinct was to call the police, but as I stared at my phone, something stopped me. My reflection in the screen, it wasn't mine. The face staring back at me was pale, hollow, and twisted in a way that was almost inhuman. I dropped the phone, backing away from the door, from the windows, from everything. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen. I didn't know what good it would do against shadows, but it made me feel a little less helpless. The scratching turned to banging. Then, I heard the voice. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once, echoing through the walls, the floor, my head. It was a low, guttural whisper calling my name over and over. "Come to us, come to us." I covered my ears, but the voice only grew louder, more insistent. My vision blurred. The walls seemed to pulse and shift. The room grew darker, the shadows creeping closer. And then, from the corner of my eye, I saw it, one of them, standing in the middle of my living room, tall, thin, with eyes as black as the night outside. It didn't move, didn't speak, it just stood there, staring at me. The lights flickered, the shadows danced across the walls. I knew I couldn't stay here. I bolted for the door, flinging it open, but what I saw outside wasn't the street. It wasn't my apartment complex, it was somewhere else. The sky was pitch black, no stars, no moon, just a void. The ground beneath my feet was cold, wet, like I was standing on a graveyard. And in the distance, I saw them, hundreds of shadows, all moving towards me, their faces distorted, their hands reaching out. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The ground seemed to pull at me, dragging me down. The shadows closed in, their cold fingers brushing against my skin. And then I realized, This wasn't a nightmare. This wasn't a Halloween prank. This was real. I don't know how long I've been here, or how much longer I have. The shadows are closer now. I can feel their breath on my neck, their whispers in my ear. They're coming for me, and if you're hearing this, they'll come for you too.